The Aussie NFL Fantasy Show would like to acknowledge the traditional land owners and the leaders past, present and emerging of Ngunnawal, Ngambri and Darawal countries where we are working from today. This always was, and always will be, Aboriginal land.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Manjot, myth, legend.
Who thinks they're going first this week, by the way? Hands up.
It's Talor.
Oh, you're wrong. It's you, man.
Yeah, I thought so. Oh, okay. Man, that is just a load of information. Lot of dumping right there, man. Yes, you gotta go for them early and then trade them. I was feeling that sort of vibe from Talor. Talor nailed, I reckon. Yeah, as someone who's living the pain of the Jimmy G experience still, just trade that man, please.
I just realised he, basically had hamstrings made of tissue. That was great.
A lot like mine.
Anyway, back to Manjot.
How about me with my Peyton Manning jersey that I got for Christmas last year?
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
It's an upgrade, but he's not going to be so elite.
In the beginning there was nothing, a featureless void. From the formless primordial state, a legend was born when forces combined to create a solid object of significant value. As planets were formed and Earth itself was shaped, the object lay awaiting its destiny. Seas rise and fall, mountains emerge, and upon the highest mountain, an intrepid adventurer happens upon the object. A worthy prize for ascending this to the tallest of peaks. This object has been documented to be held by many of the great dynasties of mankind, from the Persians to the Hans, the Mongols and the Ottomans, lives lost defending it from those who seek to possess it. Now it is in the trust of three wise men who also reach such pinnacles, to be held by he who imparts the most astute knowledge upon fellow mankind. The winner of the annual Aussie NFL Fantasy Show Starts of the Week.
Alright, Matty, your voice is way too fast at the end there with the start of the week. It's just like Aussie NFL Fantasy Starts of the Week. That's how quick it is. It needs to be a lot slower. Keep with the theme there. But
Really trying to get it done in a minute. That's what I was working on.
okay, fair enough.
Build some
fair enough.
suspense.
Yeah.
Trying to get it done in a
That's
minute.
fine. Oh, is that the trophy we see? The property of Talor. It looks like it's going to remain his property for another year. Unless we pick up our game, Matty, see?
It does say it on there, property of Talor. I'm actually considering just getting the property of scratched out and just having it say Taylor, because fuck me if we just can't catch this guy. I mean, anyhow, it's a little footy head. Looks like it's going to Wollongong. Fuck me.
Each week
we
I get more
got
and
to
more
pull our
keen.
stumps up here and go after it, man.
I feel like each week I message you guys even earlier that I've done my research for this segment. It's like my biggest thing to try and keep this dominance going.
But you claim victory earlier every week, and then you've done your research for the next week earlier every week.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's
I'm
bored.
looking at week 5 now.
Yeah. I would be too. Just bank week 4 and just go, well, I probably won that.
Yeah. At this point, you gotta get the other guys in the Astro League to replace us. We're absolute bums here, Matty. See?
Maybe that's what I need to do. Is I need to get somebody else to do the research. And I'll just bring it.
Outsourcing. Yeah, there we go.
That's a great thought. What's I'm writing that down. So
I'll get
let's do-
Seahawks starts of the week. That's fine.
That'd be so good. He couldn't do worse than I did last week. I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but
Jeez.
I felt pretty smart when Trubisky had a rushing touchdown on Thursday Night Football, and then that's the highlight. That was the highlight of my week, and it didn't get any better from there because I trotted out a Rams running back, which was a good call. The wrong one. Darrell Henderson didn't get any of the touches. Nelson Aguilar was my first overall pick. Seemed like a smart play. He had like 2 catches for 20 yards. And then Logan Thomas, who was a much sought after start. Taylor
You
and I
guys,
were
I
having
knew
Logan
it.
Thomas
Oh, it's
war.
Demo.
He puts
I
up a
knew it.
2.5. He has a catch for 15 yards, and that's the end of that. So 22.1 is my team score, which is not just a record low. It is such a record low. I probably should be arrested.
You sit this one out. You get suspended for
Miss
a
a
week.
turn? Is that an option? Manjot did far better though. So actually, we were talking about this in before show, Manjot. Personal best, right?
Yeah, it was. It was pretty good. I had a good week in fantasy overall, it seemed.
I mean, aside
Was
from the
it?
Jimmy G start, he only scored 9 points, but
Ugh.
you pick up Devin Singletary, you throw in last guy that I need a running back, Devin
Dominated.
Singletary, 24 points in PPR. Tyler Lockett, a nice choice there, 16 and a half as well. And then Irv Smith had a
Market.
tough out, but you end up with 54 points, which is great, almost 55. Can't be upset with that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. My best showing. It was great. Yeah, good job. Good job, Manjot.
A lot of respect on that. I mean, at least
Yeah.
this week, if you combine our scores, we would beat Taylor, unlike last week. But
Yeah.
Tay, I'm
That's
going to
an
let you tell us about
overcast.
your starts of the week lineup. You don't need me to tell you about it. You do get on your mountaintop, do the gloating.
It was, I sort of mentioned it a long way. Obviously, Dameon Pierce was one I was very, very happy with at running back. Went out there and just had a lot of carries, over 100 yards and a touchdown. Had a couple of catches and two for about 20 odd yards as well. So I think he ended up over. He was just under 20 points, I think. I always look more at half PPR, and then obviously you do it off PPR, but it was around 20.
He has 18.1. He had a great day.
Yeah. No, I was very, very happy with that call. Obviously, picking Devontae Smith before his enormous breakout was insane. Like, what was the first half? Was like a touchdown, 120 odd yards, and he basically did all his damage in the first half. But he ended up with 169 yards at the end. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with that dominating game as well. And obviously, picked him before he broke out, so now he's out of the running with, for anyone that can pick. So I'm trying to keep this run going of picking wide receivers just before their breakouts, and then basically not being relevant for the starts of the week ever again. So we'll see if I can do it again. It wasn't obviously tight end. It was obviously Evan Ingram. Again, with just over 3 points, which is probably close to a high for me. Starts of the week.
Easily
I think I had
close.
Everett one. I had Everett 1 week. Wasn't too bad, but
yeah, actually, no, that's true. He was good.
Probably my second best tight end. So I think I ended up on about 70 odd points in the end. So I was pretty happy. It wasn't quite my 92 from the week before, but it was definitely a pretty good week.
Unbelievable. Ends up with 66.98. So again, just there's just so much distance between not just first and second, but even more between that and the tail runner over here. So, the prize weekly is getting to choose the draft order, which Taylor has been treating like a kitten with a ball of yarn, just batting us around. What's your draft order for this week, sir? I'm going to be calling you sir for this segment from now on.
My initial thought was to give you the first pick because you haven't had it yet, but then I'm like, he was so shit last week. He doesn't deserve it. So I'm going to take number one this week, and I'll swap you two. So Matty's going to be Matty in the middle, and Manjot's going to be the arsehole end on the turn.
Yeah, Matty, you know what they say? Don't tank like the Jaguars because it doesn't always give you the first overall pick. That's what they always say.
Matt, it gives Matty something to strive for in starts of the week.
Trust the process. The process is in play over here.
Joel Embiid there.
I'm really just looking to get the first overall next year. That's what I'm.
Week 1, Matty.
Yeah, I'm playing for 2023. Mate, so hang on. We got you kicking it off. I'm then left in limbo. Manjot's getting the double pick. Yeah? That's how we're doing it?
Yep, that's how we're doing it.
Okay, all right. With some of the shifts in players last week too, I think as the weeks go on, this is just going to be so much fun working out who's eligible and who's not. Yep. And I think we're going to be testing each other's boundaries or not. But again, I think the first thing we always think about here is the advice of we're picking a player to start, is it actually helpful? That's really, I think, the first place we've got to go to, because as you say, I think you should start, Jonathan Taylor this week. So he's running back 30, so he would qualify, but no one's got that as a decision. Everyone's starting him. So, that's what we mean. It's top 20 at a position is kind of a guide. Top 15 at tight end and quarterback, kind of a guide. It's got to be helpful.
And that's sort of why I put that parameter in last week. I basically said that they had to start outside the parameters at the start of the year, but then they also couldn't be within it now so far in 2022. So it was basically trying to make it that bit harder where you basically needed to get someone that not only was not expected to be, like an easy start this year, but is also still kind of a bit of a decision at the moment because they're not inside, let's say, the top 20 at wide receiver and obviously inside top 10 at tight end. We're definitely not going top 10s in there. So, and running back in top 20 as well. The idea is to try and go someone that you like their matchup, but they aren't easy week-to-week decisions.
Yeah. So I think with that in mind, it'll get interesting because now what I've sort of shifted to is looking at start percentages.
Yeah,
that's how I know I'm being helpful. So I'm going to bring that up a lot in my rationales today.
Last week, I remember them bringing it up on a podcast. I think only about 8% started Devontae Smith, even though he was rostered in basically every league. Only 8% started him because they'd seen a goose egg and they'd seen like a 6 points. So that's how amazing that sort of the breakout game actually was. Even though you guys liked the call at the time,
we did.
That they, people weren't actually still sure about, and then it showed because a lot of people didn't play it.
Oh, every league I've got him, and admittedly, they're mainly dynasty leagues. I started him. Of course I did. I love the guy. But, that's not always the case. In a 10-team standard league, you would have needed some testies to start him, and you would have been handsomely rewarded. That's what we're saying here is if you've got a decision point, do I have the nuts to start him? This is a position where we're saying have some nuts. If you need a guy, start one of these. That's what we're doing here. So you get to kick it off. I can't wait to see where you start this. I really can't.
Oh boy.
Well, it's gonna be someone that I still think in a way you're gonna question it, but it definitely falls well within the parameters, and it is Chris Olave.
Yeah,
because
no contest.
He's still ranked 25th this year. Obviously, started well outside of it. And I still think some people, especially in like a 10-team league, would still have that decision because I don't know if people are still putting him in front of you, Terry McLaurin's, and we would be DJ Moore. I'm just trying to figure that range. DJ Moore's just been horrendous with Baker, but there's still question marks over people 100% just jamming him in. I personally would, and I know a lot of, obviously Manjot mentioned he would, and I think a lot of people still would, but I don't know if they would still be putting him definitely over these top 20 guys from the start of the season. So I still thought he fit it. And obviously, if Michael Thomas and Landry go this week, I think people might still see that as a little bit of concern for a rookie.
Mate, he's getting started in less than 40% of leagues, even on midweek numbers. So I think he 100% qualifies. He was the first guy on my list in wide receiver. Manjot, was he on your radar?
He was on my radar. Yeah, definitely.
There you go.
When you brought him up in Dr. Good Call earlier in the week, I was so cranky because I'm like, that's my guy.
I wasn't going to pick him though because I thought he was too obvious at the start. I thought he was outside the parameters. To be fair.
Well, he's in it because of his start to the year. He's now still only like 25th. Yeah. So he sort of
26 targets in 2 weeks though will get your name out there.
Yeah. Sure. I'm not saying no one's talking about him, but I still think he's just that bit of a question mark, at least a little bit. So
I'll make the graphic then.
It might be the last week where you can do this though, and which is kind of why I like it because you're like, this is the moment you stop making a decision point. You say, I start him.
Yeah. And I just wanted to talk him up a bit more because I think he deserved it. And I'm not going to lie, he was probably a huge reason why I took the number one pick. And I guess that's what the good thing is about winning is you can pick your own spot. Because when I did all my research, he was the top guy for me.
Easily.
And I honestly thought someone else might see it the same way.
I would have taken him.
Yeah.
100%. I would have made all the same arguments you made.
I only have one other person underneath him, and then under that, I've got no third or fourth. Just go wide receiver early. That's literally what I wrote down.
Perfect. I don't have such strong opinions at the other positions, so I think the best thing for me to do is to go and get that second wide receiver now and leave Manjot all day to think about it. And I'm going to go and get my mate, who I was mocking his name last week, sounds like your accountant, Greg Dortch. And I'm going to go and take him. And the reason is because he's gone from getting 70% of the snaps to 80% of the snaps. Now he's out there 90% of the snaps this week, and he's averaging 8 targets a game. and he's only being started in 17% of leagues, but he is scoring points and he's getting the ball thrown his direction. He's on the field a lot. Very untalented players have been successful because they got opportunity. That is a lot of opportunity. You just got to start to believe it.
Yeah.
Look, I was thinking about him too, but I was ultimately going to leave him as well because there's a guy named JC Horn who plays cornerback for the Carolina Panthers in the National Football League. That's what it says in his Wikipedia bio, so I'll just copy that word for word. Just to let you know, Matty, see, there's a good cornerback on the other side, so buyer beware there. I mean, he might be on Marquise Brown anyway,
I was
but
going to say it's amazing
Or
for
Rondale
Deutsch that
Moore.
he would even have him on him. Like that would almost like for straight away just like prove how well he's actually gone so far. I agree, it's a tough matchup if he gets it, but
I mean, there's other good cornerbacks they have too. They have like your former boy Matty, CJ Henderson.
Yeah.
There's the other one. I can't think it's like Jackson. Yeah, Jackson. I think that's the other corner they have. And yeah, they just have just some great defense, a young defense in the Panthers. And yeah, let's see what they can do, the Panthers defense.
they've
Because
got to go somewhere. And
yeah,
I think
Dante
it's more of a
Jackson,
volume
exactly. I
play.
was right. Yeah, Dante Jackson, the other cornerback. So he'll probably be the one playing the matchup there with your boy Greg George. Just
Yep.
yeah, I'm gonna quickly think about running backs, and yeah, it's tough. It's tough to be in the running back situations. Yeah, because yeah, there's just so many running
It
backs to
was
be
another hard week at running back for sure. I mean, most weeks are the
Oh,
parameters.
man, I found running back so easy. I'm like, oh, there's so many. It's wide receiver I need to go for. I just thought running back. There's so many who are just like, oh, you'd be a good plug and play.
Yeah, that's it. And I think I'm gonna go with Dr. Goodcall's boy, Rashad Penny.
Okay.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm
No, it's
taking
fine.
another Dr. Goodcall one, but I just love that matchup. It just looks too good to be just you can't pass on Rashad Penny versus the Detroit Lions, who
Yeah.
might as well be the worst run defense, the 50th ranked run defense in the world right now. So yeah, I'm gonna take Rashad Penny. Yeah, now I can wait on wide receiver. That'll probably be my last pick.
Yeah.
It'll probably be Kenny Golladay, Mr. 007. 0 catches, 0 targets. Sorry, 0 catches, 0 yards, and 7 drops. 007. That'll be my fourth round pick, by the way. I'll just pencil that one in. Now I'm just gonna go with tight end. It's gonna be tough because I'm just gonna hit on tight end quickly before you guys take. I'm gonna go. Yeah, it's actually difficult because there's a few guys. Is Albert O eligible? That
Oh,
is
for
a question.
sure.
Yeah.
He's
definitely.
going up against the Raiders, so why the frick not would I go with Albert O here? I mean, they have other tight ends in Denver, like Beck, we've seen. But I think Albert O is the guy still. He still had a
Yep.
few targets against the Niners. He was the main guy there. And the Raiders, as we know, traditionally haven't been good against tight end. So I'm going with Albert O. I was very surprised Dr. Goodcall didn't mention Albert O because the Raiders. But look, if he's going up against the Raiders, I'm going to have to take a fly on Albert O. He's actually currently ranked on Fantasy Pros as the 23rd best tight end to start this week. And he's given an F grade to start this week as well. So, yeah,
Can't agree with
very.
that. The
Only
Raiders
thing
defense sucks a very sweaty nutsack against tight ends, and that
Yeah.
is well documented since the mid '90s.
And they
thing
only
that
give a
stops
free star.
only thing that
free-
stops me is the only thing Russell's cooking up right now is shit pancakes.
Yeah, it must be one of those shitty hot dogs. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah,
Is that trail mix and sriracha on a burrito?
So good.
yeah. So
You
Rashad
should be
Penny and
arrested.
Albert O. Yeah, Penny and Albert O. Welcome to the squad, the patient performers. Hopefully, you guys can actually make the patient performer team of the week next week, and the individuals as well.
I haven't seen this before that someone's gone through and made their first round, second round, and fourth round pick all at the same time.
Yeah. Kenny Golladay, Mr. 007,
I
100%
love it.
fourth
I
round
love
pick.
it. No mystery. Just like I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to
Yeah, just like 007.
do. I love
With
it.
tight end too, like honestly, everyone that's basically not in the top 10, like you can pick because, like,
Okay.
honestly, from 11 down, it's like a complete crapshoot. Honestly, from like 6 down, it's a complete crapshoot. But like,
Anyone
I
anyone
set out the
named
top 10. Honestly, even if someone's had a good start and they're in like 7th, if they weren't like one of those top 10 at the start, I still think they're like eligible just because like they could anyone could put up a goose at any time. Like they're really you can almost take anyone at tight end, honestly.
anyone that's not named Andrews or Kelsey.
Yeah,
that's the rule at this point. I feel
It gets tight end is such a nightmare too because even in full PPR, the guys who are outside the top 12 have like that many points on the year, like 14 points or something. It's disgraceful.
So bad.
Absolutely.
Like, I kind of thought the line was probably like Zach Ertz. Like that's why I brought him up and he got a good call last weekend, but I didn't think he quite fit the criteria of the starts of the week. I think he's kind of like that cutoff line. Like even he's not fantastic, but I think he's like
wow.
Everyone to be starting, whereas pretty much everyone under that's just God knows what's going to happen.
But Ertz line.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's our measure.
That proves
is he Zach Ertz? Yes.
Yeah.
You can't call. It's like the flow chart. Man, and I think when it comes to tight ends, I'm gonna challenge a little bit there, but mate, I'm gonna dive into the quarterback world. Ooh. And I gotta ask a pointy question, and I'm just expecting you guys to go, fuck off.
It's the kind of question that person that just came off with 22 points is gonna ask. He wants to slide someone in.
I think I could get away with asking, but I also think you're going to very quickly bat me away like a moth from a 100-watt globe.
Look, Manjot asked about Robinson last week, but we're happy to say no. I feel like we're pretty good on this podcast in terms of saying our reasons.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And I'm just expecting to get squashed on this one because in NFL world, the guys, I guess, playing well. This is fantasy. And I don't know that Tua is a no-brain start, but he's 5th in fantasy points.
No, he's fine. I think
Do you
he's fine.
buy it? Is he legit?
Especially because I'm not even sold he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, he might not even play. So is this the risky one?
For two reasons. Yeah, and I think I've got to play risky here if I'm going to go for it, right? They're playing against the Cincinnati anal cavity of defenses where it's Trey Hendrickson, Mike Hilton, and Newton. Man, that both their O&D look shit at Cincinnati at the moment. And
so the reason I'm fine, right, is I kind of said when I did that whole parameters last week that quarterback and tight end to me didn't still matter so much what they've done so far this year. Like I kind of feel like everyone that was ranked in those two positions outside like the top 12 at the start of the year, I still think people are having decisions on those guys. Like I know Tua put up 40 odd or 50 odd in some leagues, depending on the way that you score. I still think people are thinking about not playing him. I know
it's like 80% of his points for the season.
I was close to playing Goff over him still last week. I've still got that decision this week. Like in my dynasty team, like I would still consider playing Jared Goff over Tua. Like I don't think Tua's still a guaranteed start.
He only threw for 200 yards against that Bills secondary, which had guys like you and me in it.
Yeah,
I'm walk-ons.
I literally had Tua written down last week off of 46. The reason, obviously, I didn't pick him was because I thought that would be a bit silly off such a good game. But I don't think that's an issue in this. I think that's fine.
I also thought it would have been a bit silly against the Bills defense, even with a bunch of fill-in scrubs in the secondary, because, you know, they've still got their line and their middle. So it's like, well, good luck getting the ball into the secondary in the first place. And that kind of almost proved to be true. But the Bengals don't have that problem. So him having a bad fantasy day in a win, an impressive football win, was as good a reason as any for me to argue for it. And also, it's my second pick. So if I'm going to do it, I've got to take Tua with my Tua pick.
Nice. Jeez, I almost want to take it away now.
Yeah. You, Matty.
You've just talked yourself out of it there.
I would understand.
Oh.
All right. Manjot's made my quarterback a little bit easier because I didn't want to do that stack, so now I don't have to worry about it. So I'm gonna go good call. I'm gonna go Gino.
Yeah.
Very interested in him there, and I'll just say I know you guys are picking quarterbacks. I had Goff written down again, but I kind of like going different. Like I like trying to
Same.
pick out different things for different reasons. So I'll go with Gino. Running back's interesting. I've got two guys written down behind Penny, and I kind of feel like they're both ones you may look at and go, I'm not sure. They both fit the criteria though, like in terms of like neither of them have dominated. One's Dameon Pierce again, like because to me he still hasn't. He had the one awesome game last week, but for the whole year he hasn't really done it. Like and he's got the Chargers 29th defense against running back. I still feel like people are still thinking about the decision on him. And to be honest, the person who's third has a bigger name than him in fantasy. So I actually feel like I'd rather say him. I'd rather say Pierce first because I feel like he's the better chance of being picked. And the other one, I feel like you're probably thinking everyone.
If the next one's Christian McCaffrey, you're fucking out, mate.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, I might as well say it because I don't think either of you guys will have on your list. The other one's Kareem Hunt because he's come off two pretty bad games.
Yeah.
I still think he's well owned, but I don't know that people are starting Kareem Hunt confidently, are they? So I probably have allowed him.
Yeah, I just think of two pretty mediocre games, and he's definitely outside the 20 now. And he definitely started it like
we allowed him 2 weeks ago. He scored you 9, and we were fine.
Yeah,
with it. So I think we would have let him.
That's what I mean.
He scored 29. I think we would have been like, "Fuck off, mate."
It was just hard because I know I've taken both of these guys before. I'm not really bringing anyone new, but Penny was probably the only one out of those three. There was someone that was new. So I guess it was probably up to you guys if either of those guys allowed. If one of them wasn't, I would have just taken the other. It sounds like you don't really care about who out of those two I take. So,
no. Who have you got the bigger heart on for? I assume it's Pierce.
I kind of do like Pierce just because he's the younger guy. I still think he's got slight question marks on him, and it kind of makes me feel better if he went off than Kareem Hunt because I feel like even though Kareem Hunt's got question marks, I feel like people that have him in their team, unless they're really stacked at running back, are probably just still trotting him out there because they saw him do something in week one. Whereas
Pierce, if he wasn't behind the number one running back in all of fantasy, then Kareem Hunt would be so much sexier. And Pierce isn't. Like it's just he doesn't have anyone in front of him. I would choose Pierce too.
I'll go Pierce again because I really am liking the way that they're turning to him completely in the running back room. My only slight concern is if the Chargers do get in front and it's a better Herbert, he's not really the passing game back. So if it's a bad game script, he can get sort of scripted out of the game. But I just think he's going to get enough work.
Yeah. I were you, I would take Pierce 100 times out of 100 in this situation.
Yeah, I'll go for Pierce.
I would slam dunk that. And it's not because I want Kareem Hunt. I'm not doing some gamesmanship on that, although you might have suspected that.
No, honestly, yeah. I just think
that's why I'm going to find it hard to take Kareem Hunt, though, is if he's behind a guy who's just, even in a PPR world, Nick Chubb is a number one running back at the moment.
Yeah. And no one was wanting him at the start. Like, no one, because like he just didn't. Well, I know I was kind of happy to have the Browns running backs because of the Jacoby Brissett situation. I thought they would run the ball a lot. I know we've even talked about it on the podcast, but it's just hard with Nick Chubb because he just doesn't pass any catches. He doesn't catch any.
I wish he passed as well.
Other than absolute fucking Barry Crocker tonight and some of the England. But it's just hard sometimes. You just don't think he's got that huge ceiling because of that. But then he has a game like he did, last week or 2 weeks ago where he had like 3 touchdowns and 80-something yards. And it just gets him there. Like, he's a ridiculously good real-life running back. Like, he's one of the best. So, in the end, like you can sort of bank on him having a lot of yards each week. And honestly, in the running back position at the moment, that is enough.
Yeah, he'll earn his keep. I mean, if you need to throw him in your flex, do it. But yeah, if I was choosing between these two for you, I'd take Damian Pierce
Yep.
100 times out of 100.
I wouldn't even be surprised if Pierce has another really good game and gets himself out of the contention again. Like if he has another really good game, he could get himself in the top 15.
Yeah.
Like he's playing quite well.
And then at that point, I think it becomes, oh, that's not a decision anymore.
No.
All right, on my way back, we've pretty much just picked the same positions the whole way today, and I'm going to do the same because I want to just leave tight end dangling.
Yeah,
and I'm going to take my running back. And I think this is also going to be fine, even though just looking at current rankings, he's 19th. But I feel like if you owned him, you don't feel like you've got the 19th running back in fantasy. It's Breece Hall. And the reason I want to put him there is that he got between targets and attempts, rushing attempts, he had 19 plays where he was the focal point, over 51 snaps. But he's still only being started in a little over half leagues. So it's a really iffy start. It's probably the highest percentage one that I would argue. Only because of the Michael Carter situation, too, because Michael Carter had 11 targets in the first week. And it's totally a backfield where tomorrow Michael Carter might get all that again and I'll look like a dickhead with 1.8 points for Breece Hall. But I thought I'd argue my case because I think, if I was iffy about him and then I just saw all that volume last week, I'd want to be encouraged about it. And I think as someone who doesn't own any Breece Hall anywhere, if I did, I'd be really intrigued and I'd want to start him.
Yep. I think what you said about the 1.8 points is the reason why he's allowed in this. Like, because he actually has a world where he does go out there and scores 2 points because it is a lot of Michael Carter and they're behind and they pass to him more. I am very encouraged by the targets for Hall. Like, I thought Michael Carter was going to be basically the only passing catching.
Yeah.
Passing catching, man, seriously, just put me in a fucking bed. Pass catching running back on this team. I thought it would be mainly Hall on the ground, and then you'd see a lot of Carter on third downs, but they're actually going to both in the passing game. So there is actually a lot to like about Hall moving forward. Sorry, Marky Mark, but I think there is.
Just the world's changed. We've got new information.
And he could be another guy that in 2 to 3 weeks is definitely not okay in this because he's gone, forward, kind of like a Damian Pierce. But I think right now there's still enough question marks that he definitely fits the criteria.
Yeah. This is the thing about early in the season too, is a guy's number sometimes doesn't mean a lot.
Nah. Look, if he was sitting at 5, you'd be like, well, he's going way too well. Like, if he's at around 19, like, that's absolutely fine. It's not a clear, obvious decision. Like, he hasn't completely taken over the backfield and stuff like that. So I think there'd be still people with strong running back cores on their team that would be thinking about sitting him still.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Manjot gets the double pick here. We already know what he's doing for wide receiver. He does reserve the right to change his mind, but
Yeah.
do what you do best, brother.
Look, actually, I was joking about Kenny Golladay.
No, I've already written it down, mate. Sorry.
No. I was just joking. So I need to find my quarterback and wide receiver. So first up, this is going to be interesting.
Stack this bitch up.
This is going to be very interesting, actually. I don't know how much hate I'd get for this. But coming off against Chicago, Daniel Jones really intrigues me as a quarterback to start this week. And I know he's down Sterling Shepard now. Prayers up to him. I know that freaking Perth has been shit as hell in MetLife, and they're playing there this week. But I just feel like something's in the air for Daniel Jones because if he's not going to pass the ball, he has legs. I know he might not stay upright all the time, but he has legs. He had that one meme, but he still has legs, and he can still run the ball. So I'm going to take Daniel Jones against the Bears. And that's
I'm not gonna lie. I was watching him against Dallas on Monday Night Football, and I just kept saying, all I wanted him to do was run. He looks so much better when he runs. Like, because he's actually, even though he gets sacked a lot, just especially against the Cowboys because they pressure really well. He did actually really well to get out of a lot of terrible situations, and he looks so much better when he runs than when he passes. Like he actually was dominant when he was actually picking his moments to run. Well, I think he should do that more.
I actually think if he had a decent O-line, he'd be in the top 15 quarterbacks this year, 100%. That's a guy I really want to I'm really rooting for him to like really do well. So I'm going with him this week. And
You're
I
gonna
think,
stack that bitch up. Maybe
oh,
with Gordy.
yeah,
The Gordy
like,
Now with no Sterling
look,
Shepherd, you might.
yeah.
look, I might, but where's he ranked this week? Let me just go.
I think you can still go
He's
Kadarius Toney if he's
78.
going to play.
He's
Oh, is
78.
he ever gonna play?
Richard James is ranked 63. This is just Giants receivers, by the way. On Fantasy Pros, I'm just using just as some consensus. Yeah, so you've really got look, their top ranked receivers number 63, Richie James on Fantasy
Put it that
Pros.
way. Put it this way: every receiver for the Giants is definitely eligible for this
Yeah.
segment.
He's so
That's
eligible, they would
So
be
I can
mad.
stack that bitch up 100%. But look, I'm not going to necessarily, I'm not going to actually do that because I'm just going to, focus and just go with some different receiver.
Mac Hollins.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look,
mate.
Mac Hollins is the hot guy this week. So that is the guy I've been thinking about a ton.
Don't beat me with my boy.
Mac Hollins. I wasn't even looking at Noah Brown. I'm thinking, man.
But Mac Hollins, I wouldn't take him against Patrick Surtain if they're going to actually play Patrick Surtain on him because I know Surtain is definitely going on my boy Devontae Adams. Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah, but I'm just looking through this entire. I have a full spreadsheet of people to take.
Yeah,
And you guys
this is the
already
guy who does this research. The problem is everyone looks at the way Manjot does this and goes, "Can you research it?" It's like, no, he's done so much research. He has to
There's
unpick.
too many players.
Look, another guy that has been taking the hot hand, Romeo Dobbs. I'm going to take him.
I love it.
I think I'm going to take him. No one's taken him so far, right? Because you guys took a couple guys.
And it's the perfect. I think it's the perfect time. He's one of the ones I was mentioning that I considered dropping Allen Robinson for him. I've just got to play.
Yeah, I'm going Romeo. Romeo, give me those fantasy points. Oh, let's go.
Yeah, for up.
I had Alan Lazard as my other one I written down just because the Pats. Their secondary is ranked 26 this year by PFF.
They're having a battle.
Jackson, so and the Patriots look far worse at defending the pass than they were last season. Like they had a decent. I didn't write down what they were against wide receiver last year because it was actually quite high, but I just don't think you can use that data because they look horrendous this year.
Yeah, it's a whole different world, and they're getting exploited, aren't they? And now that it's going to be even harder. They don't have the offense to turn it around because I'm just assuming their offense is going to go to pot. It wasn't great to start with, and now it's going to be a disaster. I think
that's a good call, Midge. I reckon it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I love this. Is timing on this. This is just the best bit. And he has been way at the top of. I play across 4 different platforms between ESPN and Sleeper and stuff, and he has been at the top of the trending ads. On every single one. He's been way up there. Love it. That's how you know you're being helpful. With tight end, there's literally 2 guys, and I figure you'll just take the one I don't take. But also, there's 3, depending on how eligible one of these guys is.
Yeah.
But like we said about tight end, pretty much if you're not Kelsey or Mark Andrews, and it's even George Kittle at the moment, I think you could be like, if I fucking start him. I mean, I don't think you can suggest him here, but if you had him, you might be like, what else is around? This is a surprising place to find myself, but I've found myself in Tyler Conklin's backyard.
You were so close to picking who I had at the top of my list. God,
I've got a guy who I think you'd just be like, piss off, mate. But Tyler Conklin, he's like tight end 4.
I know. It's insane.
But he's only getting started in 19% of leagues. But he's owned in 31. So if people are picking him up, they're picking him up to start him. And I concur.
And I said last week, my issue, obviously, talking about Cole Kmet is that they passed the ball like 20 times in two games. Flacco's thrown it 150 in 3 games. That's why Conklin's so relevant. And the issue for last week was that they thought CJ Uzoma coming back would actually take away some of his target share, and it didn't at all. And now the issue is that Zach Wilson's coming back. the mum slayers back. So they're worried about the volume might not be there for him as much as Flacco. But if they're in the same game script, like I don't really see how Wilson's going to throw it a shitload as well. So I've got no issue with him. I'd like, again, just because he's tight end 4, I don't think that rules him out of this, because I still don't think a lot of people are starting him.
No, yeah, and even in the midweek numbers where everyone can see now he's getting 8 targets a week and 6 catches a week on average, which is, you'd take that, wouldn't you? You'd take that. The quarterback change may change this, and all of a sudden Elijah Moore might actually come back from the dead because he's been a tough own. But that's 100% why I've gone with Tyler Conklin instead of a nameless player who you might name.
Well, I'm taking a Tyler as well, mate. I'm taking Tyler Higbeast.
Hey.
I've got him at the top, so I've got this written down. So he's up against the Niners, and this isn't actually a matchup at all, like I mentioned, of Tonya, because they were 8th against tight end in 2021. So they aren't bleeding to tight end or anything.
This
it's
is
all
specific.
targets. It's targets for him. 24 targets in 3 games. It's way too much volume for me to ignore in the tight end position. I know he's not doing an enormous amount with it, but I just think he's too useful in this Rams offense. They're just not going to Robinson at all. And I think he is there, and they need him in this offense to move forward. And I really don't think they're only going to pass 25 times again. I think they're going to pass a bit more. And, the Niners have kind of owned them. So if the Niners get to a little bit of a lead, then they're going to have to pass in the second half, not just like coast to a lead like they did last week. So I think Higbeast is very, very needed in this offense at the moment.
Yeah.
Manjot will tell you a little bit about the 49ers versus the Rams, won't you, mate?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We always love a game. Look, Hufanga against Higbee, that's going to be a good battle. I'm excited for that. My boy Hufanga looking like Troy Polamalu out there.
Isn't he?
Yeah, he's
literally
the second coming of Troy Polamalu. Same sort of curly hair that I have. And he's got these same instincts as Troy Polamalu. That's just, yeah, I love the curly hair boys out there, man. Just absolutely love watching them, rep their culture and everything. So yeah, my boy Hufanga hopefully shuts down Higbee. I'm gonna be very excited for that game, actually. Not gonna lie, gonna be watching down class. Can't be telling everyone that, yeah, might be just doing that instead of my actual public defender sort of job in class. So yeah, Rams and Niners way more important than all this. So, go Niners. Hopefully beat the Rams somehow. We looked like absolute shit last week, but somehow we'll beat the Rams maybe. That's just how it always seems like it happens. So
Rams don't look great either. That's
it's a winnable game. So honestly, I'd honestly pick the Niners.
The Rams are the 2 seed today too. They don't look good, and then they're 2 seed.
Yeah, officially I'm picking the Rams, but secretly I am in my heart going to pick the Niners. Officially, I'm going to pick the Rams for the jinx. So
yeah,
just so you guys know that.
That's a pro move.
Yeah,
right, man, that's the way to do it. Yeah, 100%. I've spent my whole life doing it with the Dragons in the NRL.
Yeah. So let's run through the teams, shall we, Matty?
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to run through them by position and by owner. So Taylor's team, he picked it first, and he's gone with Gino as his quarterback in the 2nd round. Pierce as his running back in the 3rd round. First overall pick was Chris Olave, which he was the hotness. I think any one of us would have taken him if we were at 1. And wraps it up with Higbeast at number 4 in his tight end. Manjot's team on the other end doing the double pick too. He's got Dan Jones, who, man, it was a tough night out. He showed some stuff in the 3rd round as his quarterback. Rashad Penny is his first pick at running back. Romeo Dobbs was the 4th round for his wide receiver. And Albert O, the 2nd round as his tight end. And Matty C's team of misfit idiots is Tua with my number 2 pick. Yeah, I got it in there again. Bruce Hall with my 3rd pick. My favorite accountant, Greg Dortch, as my number 1 pick. And Tyler Conklin. I can't believe he's a top 5 tight end as it sits today. But he's owned by so few people, and I'm just on it, mate. He's my 4th round pick, Tyler Conklin.
And Conklin, his results so far is the exact reason for what I said about I don't think that results so far in like quarterback and tight end is exactly what we should go off in this
Yeah.
segment, because there are definitely people who have just sort of jumped into those sections that really probably aren't going to finish there at the
Doesn't
end.
tell
of
the
year.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't tell the story. Whereas I feel like running back and wide receiver, it does, especially in like that top 5 and top 10, like specifically. I think those sort of mean a bit more than some of the people just like jumping into tight end position, because all they really got to do is have 11 points a game and they're bloody tight end 3.
Unbelievable. Yeah, at the moment, if you score a touchdown, you're probably a top 10 tight end.
The top 3 tight end could somehow goose the week after, like, and that's the whole point. Like,
but you'll still be tight end 7 at the end on the season if you goose. Like, it's just
still
such a
think-
disaster.
those two positions are still more about like pre-season ranks at this stage. Like, people like how comfortable.
Don't suggest Hawk. Don't suggest Kittle. Yeah.
The Zach Ertz line we've talked about.
Yeah, that's line. I think that just tells you everything there is to know about tight end. Zach Ertz is the line. Whoa.
Yeah.
Hey, fellas, thank you so much for helping go through that process again, just to let Talor get one step closer to owning this little guy. This is all very process-driven, isn't it? It's just we put together teams. Talor's team's better than ours. It's going to be the way it is all year.
Yeah, just a whole waste of time. We'll just auto pick next week.
What happens if you just let the clock run out?
It gets passed on, and
mate.
Talor gets all 12 players.
You'll probably still score more.
It doesn't. It doesn't actually matter. Yeah, I think what we might do, Manjot, is we'll just start our own little competition where we play for second, and someone wins the jelly beans each week.
Yeah, we can have the head of the start of the week trophy, Talor. You
The
can
trophy
make a
just
new
turns
head.
up on my doorstep next week.
Yeah, you make a new
I'm
head.
actually thinking I should
Talor.
put it in the post now. Wow. There's a part of me that thinks by Monday afternoon I'm going to be down at Oz Post.
Yeah.
So
With a
for
FedEx
everyone,
bag.
what's the scoreboard's? What, 955?
Well, Higby plays on Tuesday though, so we have to wait for him to like get negative points, don't we?
Do you know how many negative points he's probably going to have to get for my team to be
Negative
relevant?
a trillion. Yeah.
In Daughtry Trust, mate. That's the way I'm going to go with it. It'll be all right. I've invested my number 1 pick in a guy who sounds like a divorce lawyer. Cannot wait.
Yeah.
Dorch?
Well, mate, we've done it. We've got to the end of our week 4 shows. I like what we did last week with it, where we separated the video all out into their own little things. We're going to do that going forward. The podcast version, we'll try and still keep some segments together and put them out in more substantive bits, because we know that podcasts get consumed a little differently to how video gets consumed. So going forward, you're actually going to get quite a lot of episodes out of us in the week on the YouTube, and it'll be a bit more condensed in the audio version. But fellas, firstly, thank you so much for all the work you put into helping fantasy owners across this wide brown land and across the seas improve their fantasy lineups and go out there and get some wins. I should start taking your own advice too, because I am perpetually 500. I'm 6-6 every week, so I'm going to stop taking my own advice and start taking yours.
Thank you, Matty. Thank you so much for letting us give you advice every week, you know?
Appreciate it, man. I'll start taking it.
Shout out to Chris Olave, who's obviously going to be in the top 5 in wide receiver after this week. And that's just the way it goes. And shout out to whoever I pick a wide receiver next week.
Yep, shout outs. We're doing forecasted shout outs now. Who should I pick? Well, big forecasted shout out to Noah Brown for just changing the wide receiver position for the Dallas Cowboys next week and rendering CD completely useless.
Yeah.
I'm only saying that because CD's on Taylor's Astro team, and I'd love that to happen.
Shout out to the Giants secondary for just continuously just like grabbing Noah Brown like every single time he was a chance of getting a TD, because that was awesome for CD Lamb, because I couldn't handle Noah Brown, because Noah Brown on the field looks so much like CD. He's just a little bit bigger. He's like, honestly, I look and I'm like, really looking, I'm like, is that a bit of muscle tone? Oh, that's Noah Brown.
Yeah.
Because
When they put him in like jersey 7 or something, just make sure his numbers, because otherwise
you see the 8. You see the 8, and you're like, oh, it's CD. Oh no, it's 85. God damn it!
Yeah.
Like so often.
You have to look pretty hard to see if it's 85 or 88. If they put him in 81, even that'd be easier. You know?
Yeah, you're missing a couple of lines of vertical lines.
Like I said, the only thing you can tell is that he's bulkier. Like like when you actually look at him, he's way bulkier than CD.
Yeah.
I think T.O. would let Noah Brown have his number.
Exactly.
I mean, he was there for 2 seasons, but T.O. when he owns something, he likes to think he owns it for life.
I just love how I did the stone hands photo, and then all of a sudden he just goes out there and catches a one hander. It was just,
He just has the
it was
drive of his
so good.
life.
The reverse psychology meme for me just worked out perfectly. And then Matty comes out and says, "Is Taylor just having his 2020 season, but with a head start?" And it just was the great reverse jinx that I needed.
Yeah,
It was
exactly. I just thought this guy's done 15 trades. He's got this bulletproof lineup that all of a sudden just, no matter what combination he puts out, just lays bricks week in, week out. He went like 5-9 or something like that in that year.
Yeah.
And he had a bulletproof lineup. Oh, mate. Fellas who are in the top 12 at every position right across the board. But we could trot them out. They just go missing, get hurt,
They're got to do the work.
Wander off into the bush and never be seen again. Just, whatever it was. Unbelievable.
100%. Also, shout out to Marky Mark. Just uploaded his first episode of No Huddle Dynasty.
Absolutely.
Just sent it into the chat. So I just wanted to tell everyone he's keen for all feedback. So definitely send it to us. He's a big part of this show. So definitely give him a look there. No Huddle Dynasty for your best dynasty football needs.
He is on the podcast platforms, but also on Twitter is the best way to get a hold of him too. And he is a very engaged player in the community in Twitter too. So reach out and DM with him because he will 100% come back to you. And he's a great mind for Dynasty. He's a big, big addition to our little network here on the Aussie NFL Fantasy feed. Tay, you got any shout outs you got to get out there before we do the G'day Gridiron ones as well?
Nah, I'll just tack on the end with Manjot there. Like, Dynasty is getting more and more popular out there every single year. And honestly, I come on here and I like to think like some of the analysis I do does help people. But even I'll ask questions about Mark, about my own Dynasty leagues of trades and stuff all the time. Like, because I know how much work he puts in. Like, he's definitely seems more engaged into Dynasty probably even than he is redraft. And you always see Mark seems to year in, year out, like end up with a lot of the good rookies in his redrafts because he's done so much research for Dynasty. So, and he just has a lot of different knowledge than any of us three probably have. Like he knows the ins and outs of like he's probably looking at rookies for next year already. Like he's just got a really good Dynasty brain and he's going to take a different look at this stuff than just like who you start sit each week. And it's going to be very, very fruitful for your Dynasty league. So it's definitely going to be a good listen. Again, honestly, anything I wanted to talk about, I've pretty much just sort of jammed in there during the night. So shout out to TC for being a piece of shit and just sucking. So that was really great.
The kind of curse, mate. We're all the same.
Just giving me the bye this week, mate. It was absolutely wonderful. Just coasting through. Never looked like losing. Easy matchup. So, it's all in good fun. We like taking shots at each other in the Astro League. That's what we do best. So, shout out to you boys. I've done about 1 million shout outs. Another awesome week this week. It's been great and absolutely love fantasy football. And it's a pleasure being able to do this every week.
It really is. Manjot does it more than the rest of us too, because he's on G'day Gridiron and he does double time some days where he spends time with us, but also spends time with Ian, and he's got other days of the week. How do we find G'day Gridiron? How often are you putting shows out, Manjot?
It's on Spotify, definitely. There's also, I'm pretty sure it's just on Anchor and you've got everything, but definitely I've been listening to it on Spotify.
Yeah.
We have our 1 hour, 21 minute recap episode 5 of the week 3 recap. That's out right now as of Wednesday night, the recording. Almost into Thursday. My sister's birthday is in like 3 minutes. So happy birthday to my sister, by the way.
Sister, happy birthday.
Yeah, I better be getting to my favorite sister in 3 minutes. So I better be wrapping this up super quickly.
Yeah.
So 1 hour, 21 minutes, quick one. Yeah, not really quick, but I'm definitely going very in-depth there. There's some Lamar Jackson bold big takes that I said that I also said on this week's show in Aussie NFL Fantasy. So definitely listen to that. What else did I have? I had a full breakdown of the Jimmy Garoppolo safety, why that play didn't work, why it might not be all Jimmy's fault, why Kyle Shanahan deserves some blame. That'll also be, both of those will be on Pastry Press and Good Day Gridiron as well. Of course,
Beauty.
Pastry Press NFL on Instagram. We're almost at 1,500 followers. I've been looking at it every single day. We're always stuck at like 1475, which is a good amount. I'm always grateful for any amount, but just yeah, we're always just stuck. Someone follows me, some bots get deleted, something. So yeah, to all of you guys, if you guys want to check out more football content, especially on game day, I'm very active. I like to do a bit more commentary now. I realized that you can actually remix reels from the NFL and put yourself as a green screen, as the video is in a green screen at the background. I'm putting myself, my face on the screen. So yeah, I'll just be doing
More of
commentary
that.
like that.
More of
Yeah,
that.
that's coming. Kind of retired from doing other sports, but there's always Pastry Press Sports, Pastry Press AFL. Those are just up there. But all the other sports, yeah, I've just retired. NFL is the go-to. Of course, ACT Gridiron. We're off this week though. It's a long weekend in the ACT, but we'll be back for Gladiators versus Centurions, 8th of October. So that'll be a good one. We're getting some good views. MN live streaming, of course. That's where you find it all. You gotta be subscribing to them. They're on 99 subscribers, so get them to the ton right now if you can. Just get them there as of time of recording. Hopefully someone got it to the ton while we're on recording or something, or while we're waiting for it to publish. So yeah, it'll be good. Yeah, Good Day Gridiron, Aussie NFL Fantasy. Yeah, I'm flat out with Pastry Press. So yeah, I'm just everywhere, man. Fantasy Football Network, don't worry. All of us boys out there on the scout team, better be sure to subscribe, pay up, and just listen to our extra advice, extra bonus advice here for the Fantasy Football Network. Yeah, I think I've covered everything.
And you got it all, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap it up by saying hit our link tree, because all of this is through there as well. The Pastry Press, even MN live stream for the ACT Gridiron live games is now on our link tree. No Huddle Dynasty now on our link tree. Everything goes through there. There's a couple of towns in the southeast of New South Wales in the last 3 days that I've just had those little QR code stickers go up everywhere. So look out for them too, because they're bright green with gold text, and they've got a little QR code that takes us straight to the link tree as well. Guys, it's midnight here on Thursday morning. It's Sis Jot's birthday, and we're going to let you guys go. Yeah. But good luck in big week 4. But no one needs more luck than the Western Wankers, so we're going to try and take as much of it as we can. Sorry, Tay.
Okay, that's fine, man. I got the win I needed.
100%. All right, fellas, hooroo.
Wanker Nation, let's ride.
Wanker Nation, let's ride.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Matty C.
James Conner's behind the goal. Don't look behind the goal.
And I look like I'm wearing my dad's shirt. Totally like McCaffrey. It always looks like he's wearing his dad's gear. Fantastic. I'm glad that you've still got the, that luxury of being allowed to lick rhinos still in the back pocket.
Aussie?
And then T. Higgins. Like, these are just 3 guys, Manjot. If you left him in a room alone with, he would totally just lick them all.
NFL?
The gap between Connor and Montgomery is closing, by the way. I'm really happy about this.
Fantasy.
Oh, give me a scoop of the Heebies to go with my GBs on that one. Mate, I'm all kinds of happy about that. You're like, oh, fucking predictable Matty. Yep. Always doing the same fucking things. I'm so disappointed. I really wanted to smack that ass, son. I'm going to go with old Goggles McGee.